Hello everybody. So just let me know if you can hear me all right in the chat room also. Shabbat Shalom. And I wasn't sure if I was going to do this video or not. Stuff's going on in my life, basically. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I didn't get much sleep last night. But I figured I would have a show today, because I prayed on that, and I'm supposed to. So I'm hoping there's going to be a few more people in the chat room and everything waiting on that. But basically, I don't know. I've been dealing with work and posting stuff on Facebook once in a while. So if you're not, friends with me on Facebook, you can, add me. But yeah, I haven't been doing many videos, and I wish that I could be doing more live chats and everything, but stuff's been going on. So I haven't, but I mean, it's basically everything I've been talking about on this channel for the last few months. So I have, like I've said previously, we all are setting forth our intentions of things that we want to happen. And it's when we relax and sort of go with the flow that the stuff starts happening. And we have to relax into it. Oftentimes, well, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. I've listened to some of his videos. I have a playlist on my channel for Dr. Joe Dispenza's videos that I've liked. And he talks about when you are changing your mind, changing your mindset, changing your personality to change your personal reality, that when you change your mindset, when it's different from what your body is used to with the chemicals and everything that's being released, it can be difficult sometimes because it feels weird, just because it's different. And different is not bad, but different is different. And a lot of times people will change their thought patterns, and then something will happen in their life that it makes them feel uncomfortable just because it's different. And you don't want to just let your uncomfortability make you react and go back to what you were originally doing. So I do highly suggest watching Dr. Joe Dispenza's videos, and hopefully I'll remember to put the playlist in the description box below when I'm done with this. I wasn't entirely sure on what I was going to talk about, so I didn't have any of the links prepared originally, but that really hit me because I know what it's like when I changed my thought patterns, because I had made myself a MP3 of affirmations for money-making affirmations and things like that, because I was in a sort of lack of money personality mindset. And when I listened to those affirmations with binaural beats and things like that, then everything started to change in my life concerning money. I was offered more jobs. I was getting, I got into the product testing company, which I mentioned previously on this channel, and it made me afraid. So I had to go forward, like in a leap of faith. I just had to understand that what I was doing was going to work out, because I had set forth an intention and a positive mindset, and I could tell that my mind was reacting more positively to that idea, and then stuff started happening. And so I knew, even though it felt very, very, very uncomfortable for me, I knew that it would work out. I mean, I took that leap of faith. I know I've taken those leaps of faith before in the past, and they've always worked out. So, if you've never checked out Dr. Joe Dispenza's videos, you should. As far as he talks about the law of attraction from a sort of biological, mental view, rather than a more, he talks about quantum mechanics and things like that sometimes, like in the movie What the Bleep, but it's a little bit more scientific than metaphysical, I guess. He's not doing it from like a religious standpoint so much as from a scientific standpoint. He talks about the creator of the body and how he knew there was a creator of the body, and the body can heal itself because he got healed. And so, it's not like he's not religious, but, he's talking about a creator. And scientifically, there is a creator for this body. I mean, if you just look at the fact that there is an intelligent designer to this world. So I think atheists are more of sort of a religion against, a creator. It just doesn't even seem scientific to believe that there is no creator for this world, because obviously there is, because of the way things work and the bodies are made with coding. And, you look at a computer and you think there has to be a creator. So if you look at our bodies, there has to be a creator. So, I mean, scientifically, there is a creator logically with the whole intelligent design theory, even if you weren't religious. But that's way beside the point. But yeah, he talks about the law of attraction from that sort of standpoint. And it's very interesting to see how the mind works with the way that it creates emotions because of your old thought patterns. And he talks about living in the past. If you are focused on past, thought patterns that you've had, but in this moment, in the present, you can change your thought patterns and you can create a new future. So I'll try to get that list, the link of the playlist in the description box. But the main important thing that I got from his stuff is that feeling of uncomfortability because something is different. And a lot of people know that feeling, but they probably don't put words to it often. But whenever you try to meditate and to do affirmations and to change your mind and set forth intentions of a new future, when you go into those situations, oftentimes you will feel a sort of like fear, like, what if I do this wrong? What if I hurt myself? What if I hurt somebody else? What if, this just falls apart and comes crumbling down or something? People have these fears whenever they're thinking about creating a new business venture or new relationships or whatever. People have these fears, and it's just because it's uncomfortable to think in a new way, to have a new thought pattern, basically. And it's just because our brain is sort of hardwired to have different emotions. Like, we've been through past relationships, we've been through past businesses, we've been through past presentations, where maybe you gave presentations to people in high school and maybe it always went poorly. And so you have a mindset that says, I'm not very good at presenting. But then you work on yourself to be able to present your information in a more logical way or more rational or more laid back way or something. And then you get into that position where you get the podium. And it could go either way. You could get up there and you could fall on your face flat, right? It could go wrong. It could go like it's always gone beforehand. And your body knows what has happened beforehand. And if you haven't released those thoughts, and sometimes you just have to work through that uncomfortable feeling at first, and it pops up, and then you've got a fear. And when you take the leap of faith saying, okay, I'm going to do this anyway, no matter what happens, then it will turn out okay, because that's what you had set forth. That's what you were putting forth into your intentions, into the world, for what you wanted to do, to be able to give a very good presentation, but the feeling inside your body, that increased heart rate, these biological responses are there because our body is sort of patterned to have that reaction to stepping up to the podium or whatever else you're trying to do that you haven't done before. Like when I went into the product testing company thing, I was afraid of, losing money. And it's just because in the past I have felt like that wouldn't work out, but it did, because I took the leap of faith knowing that personally, I had actually just sort of prayed or sent forth affirmations or intentions into the world to have more money, to be able to make more money. And then it sort of popped up right there. And it was an answer to other prayers too, as I've talked about, because I had set forth an intention to also have free Christmas presents for my family when I went into town. And then I got free products for them all. So when we are setting forth intentions we often don't know how they're going to manifest because they will manifest in the divine way, the divine pattern, so that it actually brings forth not just one intention that you've put forth, it brings forth lots of intentions that you've put forth, or lots of prayers, however you want to, understand that. Over our lifetime, even if we don't know that we're praying, we are. I've talked about this before. The Spirit prays for you even when you have no idea that you are praying. Whenever you have something that you don't like, you're praying for the opposite. So we've been putting forth this intention into, the heavenly treasures or whatever, however you want to think about it. And they're all going to come forth if we can relax and let go and accept it. It's not that God's not showering his gifts upon us. It's that we are sort of blocking them out, like I've talked about with an umbrella or a force field. God's shining his light and giving the rain to everybody, even the evil, it says in the Bible. He's perfect. That's why we're supposed to be loving everybody else as perfect as he is perfect. So he's been shining his gifts, abundance on everybody. And it's only when we are letting it in that we finally fully realize how much he's been giving to us all the time. And so, I've put forth lots of stuff. Everybody has. You have no idea. When I talk about Abraham Hicks, Abraham talks about how people have put forth like lifetimes worth of manifestations, really. So we've been putting forth lifetimes worth of things that we want that we're really just not letting in. And it's kind of mind-blowing to think that we're not letting all that stuff in. Just think about every single thing in the entire world that you don't like. You could write a notebook full of all the things that you don't like, and then look at them and think about what is the opposite of that. And if you could see the opposite of that feeling at the deepest level, the feeling, and it's not like, yeah, I want a bunch of money. It's not the money that you really want. It's the freedom to have what you want. Because money is just a means to get to what you want. So you could be in an apartment and want a house, and, it's not that you want the money to get the house. You just want the house. So it's not that you need to be putting forth the intention for, oh, I want lots of money so that I can buy a house. It's you need to put forth the intention of getting a house. So, the same thing goes for relationships and for, businesses. It's not that you want your boss to like you. You want to be able to feel comfortable at your job and not feel like you're going to be reprimanded or something. So it's not that we often don't really think about what the core thing is that we want. And I know some people think like about the prosperity gospel, and they think, wow, that's really, awful to be wishing for money, etc. It's not the money that people want. It's the freedom. Yeah, the freedom to bless others. Yeah, because I've talked about that. I've got a whole video on how, people who follow our Father are blessed with abundance in the Bible. Joseph was blessed with all the riches in the world because he was the second-hand man to Pharaoh. And everybody was looking up to him, and everybody was giving him all these things. And it's not that he wanted all that stuff. It's just that it was the consequence for him following the Father. And then he had the freedom to help others. And he got that by helping others, because he went forth, even when he was in jail and everything, he just went forth and he wanted to help people. He helped with the drought and saving the people of Egypt by telling him about what was going to happen. And he saw the sort of chance to grab that freedom to bless others, and it ended up having a bunch of money. But it wasn't that he needed the money, and if we are supposed to be going forth and taking care of the orphans and the widows and, anybody, the homeless that you see on the street. If we're going to be helping these people, we need to have money in order to do that. So it's not that you need the money. And maybe it's not even money. Like I said, sometimes it's just the freedom to bless others, whereas you may have a barbecue set or something, just something random in your house that you want to get rid of, and then somebody down the street, says they need one, and you'd be able to just offer it to them because you didn't have to have the money to do it. You just had the opportunity to give forth an item that helped somebody else. And so, we're reaching for the core feeling. So we want to, well, back to what I was saying originally. If you listed like a whole book, a notebook of the stuff that you want or the stuff that you don't want, and think about the opposite of what you do want. Like I said, it's not the money. You can think about the core feeling of the freedom and all that sort of thing. And that freedom, and you just write like a list of everything that you do want at the core feeling, then that is what you've already prayed for. Like, you don't have to go forward and pray for freedom. You've already put that forth. Everybody wants freedom. I mean, that's a given. Everybody wants to not worry about having food. And that's a given. Christ said it was a given, that we don't have to worry about where we're going to get our food or where we're going to get our clothes or where we're going to get our house. It's a given because everybody wants that. It's a given that it's already been prayed for. And so in order to receive it, you have to stop blocking off the thought of it not being there. People put forth the relationship that they want. They put forth the relationships, not just romantic, but the relationship they want with their mother or their father or something. They put that forth. They want that closeness of family. People want that, but they think that they can't have it oftentimes. And by thinking that they can't have it, they block it off. By thinking that there's no way to have, a amicable relationship with somebody that you've had a fight with. It's our thoughts that we can't have that blocks it off. It's already been prayed for. And if it's already been prayed for, it's already been answered because heaven is outside of time. And so every single prayer that's ever been asked for has already been answered, which is exactly why Christ would say, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, what house you're going to live in, etc. It's already been answered. That's why when you seek forth the kingdom, everything comes to you because you're no longer focused on the outside world. You're focused on working on the inside world in your mind because the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. So if you can focus on working on yourself and appreciating things, and no longer complain about things like that they're not the way that you want them to be, then you can relax into it. And like I said, meditation is great. If you're feeling great, like I said in the other video, if you're feeling fantastic, then there's no need to meditate. But a lot of people have these blockages where they think like something is going wrong, like I cannot communicate with this person. And if you have that feeling like an issue that you have to work on, that's when meditating about it would be good. You just sort of relax and say, okay, I know I want to be able to communicate with this person. I want a good, amicable relationship with this person or something. Just know that you've already sent forth the prayer for that, and then just relax, let go and let God. And it's the relaxing that lets it in. That's why the meditation is good, because you're no longer focused on the lack of something that you want. You're letting go and understanding that it will come. And that's the faith step. The leap of faith is the going forward and acting as if it's already been granted. And so that's what I've been doing the past few years, but really this past year has been incredible. As I've been setting forth intention after intention after intention, but I didn't even need to do that. We don't need to go forth and send forth intentions into the world of things we want because God already knows what we want. It's already been in the pipelines. It's already there for you. It's currently a reality, and we're just not letting it in until we let it in. So when you start to see the manifestations in your life, you understand that you are relaxing and just relying on that 100% faith that God really does have our back. He is really looking out for us. It is all working out for us. But we need to be able to relax into it. And what's happening in this world is, and this is back to Dr. Joe Dispenza, the world at large is sort of stuck in a fear state. They are being told to fear everything on the news. They're fearing vaccines, they're fearing war, they're fearing Russian collusion, and, they're fearing this and they're fearing that. They're fearing red hats, they're fearing, the Bible talks about curses about people running when nobody's pursuing them. And that's what's going on. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how the body, the heart rate, and everything, it goes into this fight or flight mode. And I know people know about the fight or flight mode, but the thing is the body can't heal itself, and you're not in a position to let things in when you're in the fight or flight mode. So what's been going on with this country in general, but a lot of people in the world, but I think the US is really bad at this right now, is that we're really stuck in this fear frame. Not you guys, I'm sure. If you're listening to my channel, you're not. But there are a lot of people who are afraid. And, a lot of people were afraid at some of the things I've talked about on my channel, and they've just unsubbed, right? Because they can't deal with it. Well, they can't let any of this understanding in because they're afraid. When people are afraid, they are very much blocking themselves off. And whenever you feel fear, you understand that your body's in the fight or flight mode. Just at a biological standpoint, your body is not going to repair itself when you're in the fight or flight mode. This is another reason why the people in the US are probably the highest on having like these cancer, problems and all that. It's people are not letting their bodies heal. They're not letting their minds heal. And I mean, I know people talk about snowflakes and getting triggered and all that sort of thing. I mean, this country is filled with people, filled to the brim with people who are at the drop of a hat just sort of getting triggered, Well, at least it feels that way. It's probably not in reality, but if you watched mainstream media, TV, you'd have that. And, any of these medical conditions people have today would have a lot less impact on people if they were not in a fight or flight mode all the time. And what happens is everybody has stress at work, and Dr. Joe talks about how if you are, at work and your boss is coming up to you and you go into that, your heart's beating and everything, you're going into the fight or flight mode. It's the same reaction as if you saw like a lion in a jungle, or the savannah or something. If you were standing there and you saw this creature that you were afraid for your life, that's how our body gets, and it stores up this energy so that you can run for it if you need to. And people are doing this all the time. They're not running, but they're letting their bodies have this biological response that is keeping their bodies from using that energy that it's being stored so they can make a run for it, rather than being used to heal the body. So as soon as you relax, that's what the meditation's good at. As soon as you can get into that state of relaxation, the body can start healing itself and taking care of itself, because the body is a wonderful machine that was intelligently designed, and it heals itself. That's why when people go on fasts, their body just heals itself. When it goes into that autophagy status where it starts eating cells, it starts eating the bad cells first, like cancerous cells. It knows what to do to take care of itself, but it can't do that when we're constantly causing stress to it. I mean, in some ways, just eating, it causes the body to do something that it uses the energy to digest the food rather than heal the body. I'm not saying don't eat ever, but sometimes a fast is useful for letting go and just letting the body heal itself. But I mean, it's parabolic. It's always there. Whenever we let our body use energy for something else, then for healing the body, it's detrimental to us. So we need to let our bodies relax. And what's going on in this country is that there's a bunch of people out there who are always at a drop of a hat going to be triggered into getting upset or afraid, and it's wreaking havoc on their bodies and on their minds, and it's addictive. Once you get into that state of mind where you are going to be triggered by one thing, you might be triggered up by more things, because the body is sort of becoming conditioned over time to be triggered. It's getting this sort of addiction to the adrenaline that the body is creating. And it is an addiction. And that's why when you go to meditate sometimes and you haven't been, your mind is just racing on things after things after things. And it's sometimes hard to just let the momentum die out. There's just too much momentum there, because your body is like addicted to that feeling. And once you meditate more and more and more, that's why I suggested to just, like take a month where you just meditate 15 minutes a day, and you'll see the difference, because that's what happened to me, and you guys can see the difference in my life. So if you just meditate for 15 minutes every day, then over time your body will be more used to relaxing, and it can become more addicted to the peace and the relaxation state of mind than it was to the anxious and getting offended state of mind, or being afraid of, losing your job, not having enough money, or whatever, So we should be very focused on, if we're in fear, to understand that that's not what we should be feeling. Like I've talked about this before in the past, if you have a negative emotion like fear or anger, it's just a sign that you are not seeing this situation in the same way that our Creator Yahweh does. It's not, if you're afraid, He's not afraid because He knows all. It's a clear sign that you're not thinking the same way He is. It's a clear sign that you're not at one with Him in that moment on that subject. And if you're angry, it's a clear sign that you're not in that moment in the same way seeing it as He is. So, I mean, if there's situations like people have this, they think they have this righteous anger. There's some people out there who, they saw my channel, and, when I talked about Jesus not being God and everything, they got very offended, and somebody made a whole video about me calling me a witch, right? He believed he was righteously angry because I was blaspheming or something. And oftentimes we just don't understand when we feel like we have righteous anger, that maybe we're seeing the situation in a different way than He is. And I think the people on my channel would be able to clearly see how he was in the wrong. But sometimes we're the ones who are in the wrong when we get angry at other people for what they're doing, because we're not seeing it like he's seeing it. And I really just let go of any anger towards anybody. I just forgave everybody for everything that they've ever done. And when people do something that somebody else might hold a grudge over, I just can't even hold a grudge over it, because I just understand that I'm not the one to be judging. And again, I also believe that if somebody did something that was causing me to have a reaction, it's probably because it's inside of me, because they're just reflecting back to me what's going on inside of me, because I think the world is a reflection of what's going on inside of us. So if I get angry at somebody else, it just means there's something in me that I'm not dealing with right, and I need to work on myself. So I'm not going to be angry at somebody else for me being the one who caused it. Like, there's an audiobook I read one time where it talked about this mirror. If you were looking in a mirror and you saw dirt like on your nose, you wouldn't, reach out to the mirror to wipe the dirt off the mirror. You would, reach onto your nose to wipe it off of yourself. So when you look at somebody else and you see them, doing something you don't like, when you point a finger at them, you're pointing 3 back at you, we're supposed to be judging ourselves. So when we judge other people, it's really just a reflection of something that's going on inside of us. And then understand that when somebody else is judging you, it's just a reflection of something that's going on inside of them. Because I've had people who were, just this past week, judging me for things that, if they could write a list of all the things that I did, and then if they looked at themselves, they could see every single one of those things inside of them, because I could. And so I just let it go, like roll off my shoulders, because I understand that's something within them. In the book, The 4 Agreements, it talks about one of them, don't take things personally, because, sometimes it's us, but sometimes it really is the other person just seeing things in you that isn't even there, because it's just something that's inside of them that they're working on. So we don't need to take those things personally, just focus on ourselves and healing ourselves. And the kingdom of heaven is inside. That's what we're supposed to be focusing on. And if we can come to peace, and the kingdom of heaven, it's Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the city of peace. Shalom is peace. Salem, or Salam, or the Salam in Jerusalem is for the word for peace, Shalom. It's the city of peace. And I also have a video way back when about how our body is the city of New Jerusalem, the body of Christ, that is. But it's the same thing. We are the body of Christ. We are where the anointed is living. And we are supposed to be the city of peace. There's supposed to be peace inside of us. And when we find peace inside of us, Jerusalem, then we'll see peace in the world. And that's what we're supposed to be focusing on right now, is ourselves and finding that peace inside. And I'm really thankful that there's a lot of people coming to that. And it's not just, and probably not even the majority of Christians. There's some people who are waking up who were Christians, who are just sort of finding this new path because there's some lies in Christianity. And there's other people in other religions that are waking up out of those religions too, out of the man-made traditions, and they're still finding the peace inside of them. And that peace inside of us is not from a religion. It's just from the Creator Spirit inside of us. And listening to that, letting Him convict us of what we are not doing right. People don't need a Bible to hear what's going on inside of them and to know that what they're doing is not right, and to come to peace with that. And they can find it in any kind of religion if they want to. And they can find it probably being an atheist also. But it's inside of us. It's not something that needs to come from a book. It's not something that needs to come from the Quran, the Bible, the New Testament versus the Old Testament, or any of the other scriptures at all, from like the Bhagavad Gita or something. People can find truths in those things, but that's not where the truth is coming from. It's coming from the Spirit inside of us. So even if you just lived a life, a baby born in the wild, found by a culture who never had any books, maybe they never even spoke, but there was a language, a vibration between them that was just pure love, they would know their Creator just as much as anybody else, and probably a lot easier. Our scriptures are often detrimental sometimes to our walk, because we read into it and then we think we have to take it literally, and then we take it wrong. There's multiple people who look at the Bible literally and they see completely different things. And people have different translations and all that sort of stuff. It's why we need to focus on ourselves inside of us and what's going on in our own mental state. And I've talked about this before, but they talk about the two thieves being like the left and the right hemisphere, and the temples on our hands and our brain is where, the Christ resides on the throne. And that is what we need to focus on. It's, our minds, clearing our minds of past false doctrines and becoming like children, seeing the world like the Spirit sees the world. And, babies are a lot happier, children, a lot happier than we are sometimes. When everything's, when all their needs are met, they just be ecstatic because they're not worried about so many different things that we get taught to worry about. Like, when we're growing up, we're taught you need a job. We're taught that we need a job. But really, we don't. We don't need a job. We will end up having something that can be fulfilling to us, that we enjoy, and have money or things given to us you don't need the money. Like I said, it's not the money that you need. It's focusing on who we are inside, and everything will be provided for us. Just like I talked about somebody in the jungle. They don't need to go to a job and work for money. They have what they need provided to them. And even though we're in a more urban area here, people still provide things, like my neighbors came over with tomatoes someday, and like I was looking to have more juices when I wanted, in the past, I've been more concerned, like, how am I going to get the money for all this, fruit and vegetables that I want to juice? Because when you juice, you go through a lot more than if you're just eating them regularly. And then the neighbors came by with a bunch of tomatoes for free. Just 'cause, things can be provided to us if we're following the Father. And the worry that we need to work like a dog to make money, to pay for things, that is a mental construct that we've been given over time. And we don't have to worry about that. Christ said we don't have to worry about that. And it's very relaxing to know that. Everything that we have prayed for is already answered. There really is nothing to worry about. And everything that we've put forward that we want, it isn't all just generalities. Sometimes it's very, 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 very specific. And it can still happen. And I've talked about this before, where in the past I wanted to be able to talk to people and help counsel them. And I did on simplytruthertalk.com. People would go to Simply Truth or Talk and, set up an appointment to talk to me. And we were able to talk on the phone and just communicate. And it's something that I put forward as a child that I wanted to do. Forgot about it because I was told I couldn't, because I saw a psychologist for one of my projects for school and interviewing him, and he said that basically I was too introverted to be able to do that. So then I thought, well, I guess I can't do that, and I went forth with my life. But once I realized everything happened this 2015, and my deliverance and me changing my ways, mind, etc., then I started to see ways in which I could do that. And it's only, it was always there, but it was only that I was blocking it off because I thought that I couldn't, because somebody told me I couldn't. And most of our thoughts about things that we can't do is because somebody told us that we can't do it. But the thing is, we can. The things that we really, really, truly want, everything that would make you feel like you've got heaven on earth right now, it's there. It's already available for you. You've already prayed for it. It's already been answered. And that might be the hardest thing to hear, because everybody watching this, I'm telling you, everything that would make you feel like this is heaven on earth is already there for you. And the only reason that we don't have it is because we're not letting ourselves have it. And meditation is one way to get that. I've done my affirmations with binaural beats to try to reprogram my brain on some things, and that has definitely helped. Being appreciative of everything. Don't complain. Try to go a few days without complaining whatsoever, and you'll start paying attention to your mind and how you want to complain. Like, oh, that really didn't work out, or this person really kind of annoyed me when that happened. Every single time that you want to complain, you should be paying attention to that, because it's keeping you away from what you want. It's focusing on the problem. And I did talk about this in a video before. I think Albert Einstein said, you can't get to the solution being focused on the problem. Now, I don't have the right quote, but that's basically the idea. You can't have the same mindset that you have in the problem in order to solve it. When you're complaining, you're in that moment saying what you want, stay away from me. When you say like, oh, I don't have enough money, you're saying in this moment, what I want, a lot of money, enough money, or whatever, you're pushing it away from you. If you say, I'm never going to find the right person, you're pushing it away from you in that moment. Every single time you complain about something like that, you're pushing it away from you because it's already there. It's already been given. And in meditation, you can relax, and it's not going to be immediate, but I'm telling you, just the past 6 months of my life meditating most every day, not all the time, but most every day, sometimes a couple of times a day, meditating and just relaxing and saying, okay, God's going to take care of it. It's okay. That's already been answered. Oh, it's okay. I already have faith that it's coming. You know, it's going to come. I don't know how. I don't know where. I don't know when. I don't know who. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's coming because I already prayed for it. That feeling of heaven on earth is available for each and every person that's watching this, and it's coming. And you just have to let it in. So the appreciating everything around you and not complaining, meditating when you feel like you are going to complain, meditating when you don't know the answer to a problem. It's not going to happen instantaneously. 6 months of my life has changed my life immensely. But not everything is here. But that's okay. Abraham says you never get it done anyway. You're always going to find new things that you want. So just relax and be in the moment and think that everything really is okay right now. I have everything I need right now. And trust that everything that you need in the future is going to be provided for you. All this stuff I've found just by meditating and the law of attraction and just letting go and having that 100% faith. It's all in the Bible. It's all there for us, really. But a lot of the times people can't see it. And it's just amazing, really, what that faith can do. And that's all it is faith. It's understanding that there is a wonderful, all-loving, all-knowing creator who wants to give us everything that we've ever asked for. What we truly want. Now, sometimes somebody might say, you know, I want a relationship with this person, person A, because I really like that person A does, you know, X, Y, Z. 3 different, you know, traits, let's say. So I want person A because they do X, Y, Z. But there's a lot of stuff with person A that, you know what, would be really bad for you. So the creator, who is all loving and all knowing, is lining up person B with X, Y, Z for you. And everything else that you've been looking forward to, you know? And so person B has a lot of the stuff, even more than what you were asking for, like logically, understanding, you know, with your mind, intellectually. But you didn't realize it because you're focused on the condition of person A, because you want person A. That's the one you know. It doesn't happen the way that you think it's going to happen. It doesn't happen when you think it's going to happen oftentimes. But it can happen in the way that's most beneficial to you, in ways that you don't even understand, because his ways are higher than our ways. He knows way more than we do as far as the best way for the situation to occur. In the right time, divine timing, divine way, divine circumstances. So, you know, you could say like, I want, you know, house A because it's got this XYZ. Same thing. You know, what if house A is going to be really bad for you? Maybe it has a neighbor that you don't know about that's going to be, a detriment. So instead, you get given house B with XYZ, and, it's got even more than what you wanted, and it doesn't have the neighbor that was going to be, annoying to you. We can't focus on how or who or what, the specifics about it. Just let go and understand that everything that you did want is coming in the most divine way possible, if you can just let go and trust with 100% faith. And that's what I've seen over the past few months in my life. And I'm really happy to see you all here. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about or comment on or have questions about or anything? I'm glad that you all are enjoying the chat and everything's going well. And yeah, I mean, I got some stuff I can talk about otherwise, but I just want to know if you guys have any comments or questions or thoughts or anything that you want to discuss. I'm just going to let that go, I guess. Maybe I can move on talking, but if you have anything, just leave it in the chat. I watched the movie War Room last night, and it was really, really good. It was the perfect kind of example, I think. Some of the stuff is very mainstream Christianity, like calling out the devil, where I don't think the devil is really like a fallen angel, warring against God. But the thing is, the movie was made for Christians, and I've said in the past that something that could be understood by mainstream Christians, like in a parabolic way, can be understood by people who understand that Satan's not a real enemy. If somebody sees it allegorically, it's going to be just the same sort of idea. But one of the things that was very interesting about the movie is that, it's about a relationship, and the husband and wife are fighting. And sometimes when you are fighting with another person, and this could be for anything. I mean, I've heard some people come into my chat like talking about neighbors that are really annoying them, etc. It could be a relationship, like with a romantic relationship, or it could be a mother or father or something like that. If you're fighting with somebody, it's not the best situation, because you're not fighting against what you really need to be fighting against. Now, in the movie, it was saying basically you need to fight against the devil, which is causing, the destruction of this relationship, rather than the other person. And it gets into the whole, the other person is given grace. No matter what's going on, God loves them. And in the same way, we want grace. And if we want grace, we need to ask for forgiveness. And Christ says that, you cannot be forgiven unless you forgive others. So if you can't forgive others for doing this XYZ, then you can't be forgiven. And a lot of people go into they have these relationships, they have these fights where they're, angry at somebody else for, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And they don't realize that sometimes, like I said, you're pointing a finger at somebody else and you're pointing 3 right back at you. Why are you doing it? Why? They're a mirror for us. So if we see something wrong in somebody else, then there's something going on inside of us that we need to change. And as long as we focus on ourselves and just say, God's going to take care of the rest. If you have a problem with somebody else in a relationship, you can just let go and let God take care of it. I'm sorry to hear about a stroke, Lee. Meditation is really, really, really beneficial. And I think that is really something immensely important for health issues. I did make a video one time about meditation with binaural beats for meditating, because I don't know, the binaural beats, I don't know how that works with stroke stuff. There's some health issues with people who might have problems, like children can't do the binaural beats thing. But I mean, just meditation without binaural beats is good too. But yeah, just the quieting of the mind. Basically, I do think that all of our thoughts, our health issues stem from them in some way. Like Dr. Joe talks about how, and Dr. Joe talks about, I mean, you might want to look at his stuff, Lee, but he talks about how people can heal themselves mentally, and how basically our body, it's not stable. If you look at it, it looks stable, right? But at the quantum level, you know, it's just a bunch of particles flying around and air going between them. And an air, I think, is spirit, you know, the creator. The in-between, all the different particles of matter is the creator. That's why they talk about the breath being the spirit. The ruach is the breath, and the spirit, same word in Hebrew and Greek. It's pneuma in Greek. I might be mispronouncing it, but it's the same thing. And the spirit is going in between all the different particles of our body. And what's going on is what's going on inside of us when, like, we are the kingdom of heaven. It's inside of us. What's going on inside of us, in our minds, our thoughts, etc., is creating our body. And this is why if somebody meditates, their mind clears, and the thought patterns that were creating the physiological or biological responses in the body, they change based on meditation. I mean, this is clearly, you know, scientifically studied with the Dr. Joe stuff. So if you can clear your mind, the body reacts differently. And there's another video I talked about also. There was a TED Talk which talked about how the body can repair itself when you go into that meditative state of mind. It's because the fight or flight state, and like I said, people are constantly in this fight or flight state where they've got this worry or that worry, you know? And if you're in the fight or flight state, the body is storing all of this energy, the energy that creates worlds, right? The spirit inside of us is giving us this energy. It's all there, and it could be healing us. And our body instead is storing it when we're in the fight or flight state of fear, which is the exact opposite. Fear is the exact opposite of the all-loving creator. So when we can get into the meditative state of mind, we're not thinking these negative thoughts, and the body can relax. And that's, you know, like I said, scientifically studied. The body goes out of the fight or flight state into this relaxing healing mode where the body starts repairing it, and the body knows what to do. The creator is, you know, he's created our bodies in order to heal itself. I mean, you know, when people get phlegm from a cold, it's not a sickness that somebody has phlegm. It's the body is rejecting the toxins and stuff. It's trying to get rid of the bad stuff. Oftentimes people, and the fever, people try to like take a fever reducer, but the fever is there to heal the body because it just fights whatever diseases are going on in the body at that time. You know, it warms up to a temperature that's hot enough to get rid of the disease portion, but it doesn't get rid of the positive stuff that's going on in the body. When people take fever reducers, and I'm not saying just never take a fever reducer. If at some point your fever is way too high, you need to do something about it. But oftentimes people will run to a fever reducer or run to get cold medicine so that they don't cough up the phlegm that needs to come up, you know, because there's something wrong inside the body. The body is constantly trying to repair itself from everything that's happening to us. And oftentimes we see the repair as something wrong. We see it as something that's gone wrong, but it's not. It's the body is actually starting to heal itself. Fasting is very helpful. You know, so just taking time out to, you know, pray to the Father to heal the body. I mean, I went through a time where I was kind of overdosing and I needed to fast. I was throwing up water. I was throwing up everything that went into my body. The body knew that it needed to fast. And so it took care of itself and healed itself. We need to be able to understand that sometimes we need to fast. And sometimes fasting is fasting from thoughts. My camera just went black for a second. Okay. There's a delay, so that probably happened at a different portion of the video. Anyway, so we need to fast from the things that are a detriment to us. So our negative thought patterns, our complaining, our fear, concern, etc., that stuff is something we need to fast from, and that's what meditation is. And so it can be a fast from food, or it can be a fast from the negative thought patterns, just a relaxing and letting go, and just understanding that when you relax and let go, the Father can heal you. Whether you're relaxing and letting go because you're not having any food and the body starts repairing itself, or if you're relaxing from negative thoughts and just meditating and clearing your mind for a second, that's, it can sometimes I'd say to take 15 minutes out of the day for every day to meditate if you can. And the first, while it's not going to happen immediately, but, sometimes it might just be like a second of a clear mind at the end of 15 minutes of meditation. And just that second is so immense. It's kind of like all of our negative thoughts are dragging this cork underneath the water where we're drowning. But as soon as we let go of our negative thoughts, our mind naturally rises to the top. So we can just sort of let go, and our mind naturally does rise. Now, there's a lot of momentum of negative thoughts. That's why, I know that my meditation since around September of last year has helped immensely in my life, but it's happening exponentially for me because in the beginning it took a while. There was a lot of momentum that needed to get let go of. So oftentimes when you try this out, the first thing is, you'll have a lot of thoughts and you're like, I can't clear my mind. Well, that's a complaint right there. You have to let go and believe that there is a way that you can clear your mind, that in the future your mind will be able to be cleared. And it will, because we were born clean slates. We were born with clear minds. And if you can just trust that at some point your mind will clear, the more time you do this, 15 minutes a day or something, every day, just take the time out. And if nothing happens the first few days or a week or something, that's okay. But the more you do it, the more relaxed you will be. Especially, like, I do have one meditation on my channel where I'm just talking, basically, where it's a prayer to the Father, basically, to just sort of let go of any concerns that you have. And so I'll put that link in the description box when I'm done with this video. That particular one there's no binaural beats. It's just me talking about letting go and trusting the Father. And you don't even have to listen to what I'm saying if you just take out 15 minutes to do it, and if you just relax every day, it'll start to become second nature. And then the change in your life will be exponential. And I'm telling you, it's true. I understand so clearly now how much our negative thought patterns influence our lives. Dr. Joe talks about it from a biological standpoint of why that's true. But I understand when you say things like, I can't do this and I can't do that, what it is a lack of faith. If you say, I can't have this relationship, I can't work things out with that person, I can't have, the house I want, I can't have this or I can't have that, you're basically saying to God, you're not powerful enough to give me that. You're not all loving enough to want me to have that. And you're pushing it away. And I'm telling you, it's all there for you right now. Because this is heaven on earth. And it's hell on earth to people who can't get out of the fear mindset. Because whatever they fear, they keep attracting in their lives. And if they are offended, they get addicted to that feeling of being offended because they like to be a victim. They gain a victim mentality that they don't want to even let go of. It's hard sometimes if you have a victim mentality to accept that you are the creator of your own reality. You can take control of your own life. You can decide that I don't want to be a victim anymore, but then everything that happens to you is your fault. But we're learning here. And if you can just give grace to yourself and understand that we're learning, we're working on it, we're going to get better and better, and we will get there, you know. But there's a lot of people who just can't let go because they kind of identify with being a victim. They identify with that. And Dr. Joe talks about that, about the body. I mean, he doesn't talk about the victim mentality, but I'm telling you that what he does talk about is basically that. People who are so addicted to this feeling that they get, like a feeling of righteousness. Like if somebody feels like they're being discriminated against, whether, you know, because of their skin color, race, ethnicity, or whatever, and then they start seeing that everywhere they go because they want to be right. They enjoy that feeling of, see, I was right. See, I am a victim. See, this person really didn't like me because of this or that or whatever. See, I can't get ahead because, you know, I mean, there's like African Americans out there who say like, I can't get ahead because of, you know, white privilege. But then there's all these, you know, movie stars that they're on top of the world. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It doesn't matter whatever. It doesn't matter this stuff. But people who they're stuck in this victim mentality, they just want to be right, or they're afraid to know who they really are or take control of their life. And it's scary sometimes for people. That's what I'm saying. In order to get to where you want to be, you know, to have heaven on earth, which I'm telling you is out there, in order to get that, you need to go through the fear. You need to take leaps of faith and understand that it really is out there for you. So, media, what are you saying about what I'm saying here? What in particular do you think that I'm saying here that you want me to think about? Yes, people who feel discriminated, they want to be victims. Well, there's a part of them that does. There's a part of them that doesn't. But there's a part of them that does. And it's ruling. It's not, don't think of it as a negative thing, but think of it as the body is actually, there's some people who go through something horrible, like they got molested, let's say, as a child. They can live their entire life, and Dr. Joe talks about how people can live their entire life because somebody, you know, said a stupid thing to you on the street and you got mad. They can live their entire life mad at this, or they can change their mind and not be mad. They have the option. We are so free, we can choose bondage. There are so many people who are so free that they actually do choose the bondage. Now, someone who's been raped by their parents, like I said, somebody who's been abused, I'm not saying that they can't feel like something was wrong. Yeah, something happened to them. That's something that happened to them. But feeling like a victim is not the something that happened to them. The something that happened to them is in the past. Somebody can desire justice, but that doesn't mean that they have to live feeling like they're always a victim. People can feel like they're victims, or they can feel like they are survivors. There are a lot of people out there. There's these courageous people out there who, you know, they were aborted, but they actually lived. There's abortion survivors, and, you know, they go forth, and there's people out there saying, you know, let's say it was a child of rape, an abortion survivor, child of rape. And, you know, there's people out there saying, like, we should just kill these children because the parent was raped and, you know, this child doesn't deserve to live. And there's these abortion survivors who are just like, you're telling me I don't deserve to live? Like, I don't deserve a life? I'm a person. So what if my father was a rapist? You know? I'm a person. I deserve to live. I deserve to have a life. And the mother deserves to have a life. But if you are constantly unforgiving, now there's a difference between, forgetting versus forgiving. But if you're constantly unforgiving, then you're not going to be forgiven. Christ says that. If you don't forgive others, you're not going to be forgiven. And that's the thing. Victims who don't forgive others stay victims. And in order to be free, you need to forgive. A victim mentality is never going to lead to freedom. But somebody who's been a victim can always be free. And that's the marvelous world we live in. Everybody can be free if they just forgive. Doesn't mean they have to forget, doesn't mean that justice isn't served, doesn't mean any of that stuff. But if they forgive, they can be free. If they don't forgive, they're going to be a slave to that unforgiveness for the rest of their life. I'm just looking at the comments here. And another thing is, I'm saying that there is an addiction, there is a mental addiction to, or biological addiction to the feelings of being a victim and feeling righteous and all that. There is an addiction. It is an addiction. And so I'm not saying it's going to be easy to forgive, but it's required to have freedom. And I know that. I've been through it. I went through a deliverance where I forgave a lot of people for a lot of stuff, and I found freedom. And there's no freedom in being a victim. In that victim mentality, there's no freedom in it. So, all right, just looking at the comments here. Katrina was saying, I was in a life of family abuse all my life. I could see myself as a victim, and not a single person would have a problem with that. But I don't want what happened to me to make me who I am. I'm not a victim because I've decided to be a victim. Decided not to be a victim. Yeah. And she's seen what's happened in her own life. And it's true. You can be a survivor, you can be a victim. If you want to be a victim, then you're going to be stuck a slave to that victim mentality for the rest of your life. And you're always going to be angry at something or unforgiving, and you're never going to find true freedom. But everything in the past can be forgiven. Everything in the past can be forgiven. There are people who, have their children murdered, and they forgive, might even hug the murderer. They have freedom. If they don't, if they stay angry at the murderer of their child, then they're a slave to that person. They're a slave to the person who murdered their child for the rest of their life because they have decided to be in bondage to that person and stay angry at them. That's not freedom. So, and Lee, maybe therapy is the path of least resistance for you. I do believe that our Father guides us to whatever is the best path to get to what we want. And just know that there is true healing for what we want. No matter what's happened in our life, the more we stay angry at people and constantly worry and fear and all these negative emotions that we have, it's keeping us from being one with the Father, because he's not angry. He's not unforgiving. He says to love everybody and be perfect as he is perfect. And yes, bitterness is a poison. And unforgiveness is slavery to the person that you're not forgiving, because they can push your buttons. They can yank your chain. Think of it as a chain. If you are unforgiving of somebody else, they've got you on a chain, and they can yank your chain, your emotions, and you're a slave to them. But when you forgive them, you're cutting that chain. So you're no longer a slave to them. So you're free. There are always things that are going on in this life that people can cling to be upset at, angry at, and think of it as a negative thing. But the more you think on negative things, the more you attract negative things to think about. And the more that you let go and forgive, release, clear your mind, the more you'll see things the way our Father sees things. And I have prayed, and this is a good prayer, Father, help me see that person the way you see them. Father, help me see this situation the way you see it. Father, help me see myself the way you see me. Because if you can see it through his eyes, he's not going to be angry. You're not going to be angry. He's not going to be unforgiving. You're not going to be unforgiving. He's not going to be worried, so you're not going to be worried. If you can become one with God, and I'm telling you it's possible because that's what Christ came to do, to teach us how to do that. And that's what I've been trying to do on my channel. If you can become one with God, then you can find peace, shalom, and rest for your weary soul, and freedom and joy. And you'll be able to see this world the way he sees it. And it's exciting. And it's not a place of evil. There's a lot of things that people call in this world evil. Those things are contrast for us to see what we don't want and choose the other. And as soon as we see what we don't like in this world, as I said, you could make a whole list of things that you don't like and just focus on the positive. Focus on the opposite, because the opposite is what you've prayed for and it's already there. And if you have 100% faith that it's already there, you'll see it in your life. So I'm just looking at the comments. Katrina was saying that she says, I was a slave to my dad most of my life because I held forgiveness and hatred towards him. Now I see I was a slave to him, but I sure didn't see it before. Just because they can't see they are a slave doesn't mean they aren't a slave. Exactly. Everybody who gets offended at something that somebody else says, everybody who is angry and unforgiving for what somebody else has done is a slave to that situation and that person. And we've got a lot of people getting offended these days. We've got a lot of slaves in this country. But I'm hoping that there's a new exodus happening where people are coming out of that spiritual slavery and unforgiveness. A child who's being abused today will be abused tomorrow if they focus on the abuse, the negative things, if they focus on the horribleness of the situation. But if they have 100% faith that God is providing a solution, God will provide a solution, and they won't be that way the next day, because God will provide a solution. And I hope that you guys are getting this, because it looks like my screen has frozen up. So I don't know if you guys heard all that, but yeah. Please let me know if you guys can hear me and see me and everything in the chat, because my screen froze up on there. Maybe it's just on my end. A child who is, you know, a victim of sexual abuse, obviously they're in a situation that isn't good. I kind of believe that people reincarnate into those situations on purpose, because it's going to lead to something better in the future. But if you don't believe in reincarnation, I still believe God has a purpose for everything. And that it's setting forth something in the future. Like somebody who's been abused in the future will maybe, you know, forgive and move on and start talking to other people who have been victims of abuse themselves and heal those people. So, okay, I'm not sure what's going on with the video, but anyway, those people can be healed because of something that happened that was really horrible. If you look at every single person who has ever been nice, kind, and helpful to somebody else, another, you know, group of people or whatever, you'll often find out that they have gone through some really horrible things in their past life. So, in the end, everything bad turns into something good. And that's why I said I don't really believe in bad or evil stuff. Everything that we have sent forth turns into something better. If we go through something negative, we can turn it into something better. And yeah, there's some people who don't do that, but I believe in reincarnation, so I just believe they, learned something in that past life and they'll get it in the next life. But, and maybe there's something like karma where somebody was abusing somebody in one life and then they came back to be the abused in this life so that they could learn what it's like and find compassion. So, either way, I think that God has a plan for everything. And even if we don't know what or how or why or what's going on, it doesn't matter that we don't know. He knows, and everything is working out for the best. And to say that it's not, that something is bad and evil and people should be stuck victims, that's kind of like saying God doesn't know what he's doing. And I can't do that. I know that he knows what he's doing. So, no, I'm saying that people should understand that abuse happened and forgive, because Christ said that in order to be forgiven, you need to forgive. And it doesn't mean that the person shouldn't be prosecuted. It doesn't mean that the person shouldn't face consequences. And I've talked about that in my Lake of Fire video, where people do face the consequences of everything. So, okay. So anyway, people are saying in the chat that he doesn't understand what I'm saying and other people understand what I'm saying. And so I'm probably just going to end the video, I think, for now. It's already been over an hour anyway. But you'll get what you get out of this video. Whatever you're feeling and understanding is what you'll get. I'm just going to put it forth out there. And I really thank you guys. I love you all, and I'm glad you all came, and I'm glad that you all got to chat with each other, and I'm glad some of this stuff came out in the video. And thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a great week coming up, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.